If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
All right, folks, welcome. Welcome to Larry's Fountain Pens. And today I'm having a special guest, Mr. Justin Fulton, and he's going to tell you all about his top 3 pens. Now, again, let me say this again, that Mr. Juice Appleboom is still doing the top 3 pens, but he's really busy. You know, he's just had another child born, so he has 2 kids now, and opened up that other store, so he has 2 stores, and he's just really busy, so he will get to people as soon as he can. So I already been, emailing Juice and making sure it's okay that I'm doing this, and he was fine with it. So anyway, here he is, the one and only top 3. Good luck, and it's all yours, Justin.
Well, Larry, thanks for having me on your show. This is really awesome. So my pens are probably not the most exciting or flashy pens, but I think the story that's behind it is more important to me, because for me, owning a pen sometimes has to do with the sort of Ebenezer that goes with that. A nice fountain pen is kind of like a milepost, I think, in a person's life. There are people that collect, and there's people that I think that like to have tokens. And for me, the fountain pens that I own are kind of tokens because they represent significant moments in my life. And they're just kind of a cool reminder to me of something that happened that I really want to celebrate and remember. And sometimes it's nice to have a physical item to hold in your hand to do that. So again, my pens are probably not the most exciting. I do have a wild card pen at the end. That's a 4th pen. But the ones that I have that are kind of like mine are probably pretty well-known pens. So the first one I'll start off with is the good old Lamy Safari. Now, this pen isn't anything of to refute, but I mean, it's a good solid pen. And this is the charcoal. This pen was my first fountain pen, and it was my first foray into pens. And I bought this pen up in a shop in Dubai, and it was kind of like my first foray. And so I don't want to go too deep, too expensive to see if I really liked it or not. But this pen represents a very significant moment in my life because this was the day that I passed the GRE exam. Now, I was studying for a while for education and those sorts of things, and I've got a couple master's degrees, and I wanted to go on to get my doctorate. I've since changed my course, but in the process of applying, they wanted me to pass this GRE exam. Long story short, it was probably one of the most challenging exams I've ever taken in my life. And I've never been someone to walk away from something I've started. I've always finished what I've started. And so taking that exam was probably the one turning point where I almost reconsidered walking away. I was so stressed out. And I put months into this exam, studying for it, preparing for it. And I studied to the point of thinking I was ready, getting into the exam. And it was like somebody had revealed a whole new language to me. So long story short, about halfway through, I thought about just getting up and walking away. But I said, you know what? I started this thing. I paid the money. I'm going to do this thing. And I finished it. It turns out that I passed. It was amazing. So don't judge things by first appearances, because that's a good lesson in life. But to celebrate that moment, I picked up this first fountain pen from a really nice shop. It was kind of a white glove place. And I read a lot about Lamy pens, and it's a good solid writer. I mean, most people have these. They have several variants of them. I like the matte versions, and I still need to pick up that green one they've got. I think they call it the Safari. And then there's one I think they call maybe Adobe. That's kind of that orange earth color. So yeah, really neat pen. So that's pen number 1. Pen number 2 is another Lamy. This is the Lamy 2000. And I picked up this pen recently. And again, this pen is probably not the most exciting pen out there, but again, it's the story behind it. So I purchased this pen because in coming back to the States, one of the most difficult things for me was transitioning out of the career that I was in for 15 years into something new. And for in between that time, I picked up a couple side jobs, earned some cash, and found out that I hated what I was doing. They still pay me, which was cool, but I used that money to remind myself to hold on to kind of the plans that I had set for myself to continue on with those things. So, the Lamy 2000 is a good standard pen. It's a really nice kind of affordable gold nib pen. The price they have it for right now is pretty amazing considering the price of most other gold nib pens right now. And I really enjoy it. And then the best part of this pen is the story that it's well loved. I just got this pen back from Bob Nuren, I think you pronounce his last name, in Arizona. And I had to send this pen down to Bob because my dog, my German Shepherd, my fur missile, got a hold of this pen and took her teeth to it. So I was sitting and writing some pen pal letters at my desk here, and the pen fell off. And I thought, I'll pick that up in a minute because I was working with a couple different colors. And I just left it there. And then I heard some chewing noise, and I thought, my dog's working on her toy bone. Looked over, and nope, there was my Lamy 2000 sitting in her mouth. And this cap is, the pen looks brand new now. Bob did such a great job with it, but the cap got completely gnawed up. And then the blind cap had teeth marks all in it. And I'm like, but thankfully, like she didn't get to the nib. So that was cool. The nib stayed intact. So most of the pen was pretty good condition. So I had to do some searching because getting a Lamy pen repaired is a bit of a challenge. Most pens actually are pretty hard to get repaired. But they still have a shop down in Arizona. So if you're keen on getting a Lamy pen repaired, if you're missing something, contact Bob Nuren down in Arizona, and he'll get you set up. But this pen is basically brand new. Again, he did a great job with it. And I hope Bob sees this video. I don't know if he watches your show or not, but I hope he sees that. Just see that I'm grateful. And my dog has found better chew toys than, over $100 pens to chew on. So that's that pen.
Yeah, way over that. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, and then my final specialty pen here is a Pilot. And again, I have a lot of black pens, and like, oh man, he's a basic guy, but you know what? Black's a good color. Yeah. I like pens, and if I want to get flashy with them, I'll go after inks. I like what comes out of the pen versus maybe more the aesthetic of the pen. And I like a good solid black pen that are really enjoyable. This pen represents 16 years. I bought that. We're past 16 now. We're about 17. My wife and I celebrated our 16th year anniversary a couple of years back, and kind of got this pen as a memento. I picked her up something as well. She kind of liked the Lamy Lilac and so on after that, but I wanted to pick up a Pilot because I heard a lot about them. And this pen, out of all the pens that I have, has not. This pen is just amazing. The nib out of the box has been great. The converter is unique. Not everybody's a big fan of the Con 70. I've kind of played off and on with it, and I actually switched this one over to a Con 40 just because I have a condition, and I'll talk about that condition in a minute, but I switched over to the Con 40 just because it's a smaller converter. And most people are like, come on, man, don't you want a piston filler that takes 6 milliliters or a gallon of ink in your pen? No, I have a condition, and my condition is known as IADD, and that means ink attention deficit disorder. I cannot continue working with the same ink for more than probably a smaller converter's worth of ink because I have so many inks. In our next meeting, I'll talk about, some of the inks that I like, but I like changing colors often. I like to change it up. And if I have I've actually sold really nice pens with larger ink capacity just because I'm really tired of working with this ink now. I need to do something different. So I've kind of navigated more towards converter style pens just because I really enjoy changing ink colors. I know a lot of people are like, man, I want to fill this thing and leave it alone for 5 months. That's fine. That's your style. But me, I'm I got to change things up. I have a lot of inks that I want to work through a rotation with, and I just really enjoy changing up ink colors. So I enjoy the Con 40. The Con 70 is a little bit bigger and it's cool. It's got kind of that push button feature. I really do enjoy pens with funky filling systems beyond just your standard stuff. But anyway, long story short, this pen is a classic. The Pilot 912, I highly recommend it because if you're a picky kind of person, Pilot offers a heap of different nibs. And although I kind of got a basic bold nib, they offer a lot of variety. So I'm considering maybe picking up another Pilot just to pick out some nib variety because they do offer a lot of cool options. So those are my top 3 right now. There's a lot of pens out there, and I do own a lot more pens than that. But those are kind of my go-to. I love these pens. They're really great. A couple of them are kind of straightforward and basic, so it's not super exciting and flashy, but, I'm kind of a utilitarian, kind of pragmatic guy. So, and then I have a wildcard pen. Is it okay to share that with you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I think every person in their collection should have something weird. And there's a lot of weird pens out there. But my weird pen is weird because it's massive. And it might be kind of hard to tell, but I'll hold up the Lamy Safari for size comparison. You can kind of see how much different that is as far as pens go.
Yeah.
Now this is the Gamma Supreme. This is probably the biggest fountain pen that I've ever seen. And I picked this up from Fountain Pen Revolution. It's an Indian pen, and it's completely ebonite. And I love the finish on it. It's kind of like this tiger stripe kind of look to it. I want to say it's maybe 6 millimeters because it's an eyedropper.
Okay.
And it takes a big old honk in number 6. Now I've got a Can-Write flex nib in here. This is another Indian nib. And if you've not checked out Indian pens, you might give it a go. I mean, a lot of people, there's Noodler pens out there, and that's a pretty popular brand of Indian, like their American brand, but the pens are Indian. But if you want ebonite, and I recommend you have at least one ebonite pen in your collection, just because it's a really nice, solid material, and you don't want to break the bank because a lot of other countries sell their ebonite pens pretty high. Try to check out an Indian pen. If you could find a Gamma, it's a pretty popular brand. They have another one called the Falcon that kind of looks like a big black cigar. It's almost this big. And I almost got that one, but then Fountain Pen Revolution's like, well, we got the Gamma Supreme, and that's bigger. I'm like, yeah, man, give me the big pen. I got to have a big, massive pen. So this thing, it caps, which is hilarious because it's like riding with a yardstick. But I don't usually cap my pens, but it's a fun pen. And most of the time I write with this thing. I feel it kind of feels like you're writing with a 2x4 just because it's so big. But it's a fun pen to address letters with, and that's why I put a flexing Can-Write nib on there. You get those off eBay for, maybe $20 or $30 or something. You get a pair of them for $20 or $30. They're pretty cheap. But I get sort of flexy writing out of it. I enjoy addressing envelopes with this pen. So if you get a letter from me, usually I address it with this pen because that's kind of like what I dedicate it to. But it's fun to write letters with as well. So, those are my pens.
Well, okay. Well, there you have it. Is top 3 plus his honorable mention pen, the big Tiger pen. Yeah, that's a good looking pen. Yeah, when I saw that, the first thing it reminded me of was a tiger. Story. Yeah. And I'm familiar with Kevin's pens from Fountain Pen Revolution. I have quite a few collection of his, and I like them for myself. Indian pens are, in my opinion, are good pens. They're great pens. I like them.
Yeah, they're usually guaranteed to be handmade. A lot of the parts have sometimes a little bit, like the ebonite feeds are pretty nice. Most of the time, if I have a glitter ink, I'll throw it in an Indian pen with an ebonite feed because I have zero clogging issues with those pens.
Well, folks, that's going to wrap this one up, but heads up because you'll be seeing Justin back here soon because I will be doing for the first time, at least on my show, top 3 inks. And he is the man that's going to start it all off on the show. Ooh, Justin! All right, Justin, my friend. That's going to end it. And hey, take care of yourself. Good to see you again, Professor Peabody. And behave yourself. Rock on, rugby.
All right, Larry, thank you.